We've had employees in our office for over 11, 12 years now. We've had contractors that we've used for that long too. It's definitely a special relationship because you go through season after season. Some seasons are really great and you do so much work. Some seasons are a little slower and you get through together. I think the trust is the most important thing. And I think the contractors who are good, they really know that. They will not let you down.
Shayna and Joe, welcome to the Manufacturing Report podcast.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I've looked forward to this conversation for a while, and I am thrilled that City Threads was part of our Made in USA holiday gift guide for 2025. Thank you for allowing us to have you in there.
Of course. It's a pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah. You bet. So why don't you share with our listeners just a bit about like what is City Threads? What are the products that you offer? And then we'll get into the inspiration, but could you just let our listeners know kind of what you make?
Sure. Yeah. City Threads is a full line of children's clothing and also adults clothing, but mostly kids. We have a full line of boys and girls basics. It could be anywhere from dresses, leggings, t-shirts, pants, underwear, let's see. And then we do a full line of swimwear as well for boys and girls. And then most recently, we started branching into men's and women's as well, focusing on 100% cotton and organic cotton options for men and women basics, and also a couple swim items as well. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So that's a lot. And I don't have to tell you that in apparel, the USA makers are a small percentage of that, but I think that it's a powerful market and one more people are discovering. And what led you to this path? Because lots of people have ideas. I want to do this, I want to do that, but actualizing that and converting it into a brand that you're expanding the product lines all the time took something. So can you take us back to the very beginning and kind of the kernel of the idea of how this all started?
Sure. You want to take it, Shayna?
Well, I was a nanny right out of college and saw how much the parents enjoyed buying clothing for their kids. I also grew up with a grandma who had a children's clothing store, so that was a fundamental like childhood memory, was going to the store and being around that. So and Joe after college, he went to a music program at USC for a year. So while he was in that program, I kind of like developed the samples and started got reps and started selling, and then every break he had, I'd be like, I need help, and he would help and he would enjoy it. And then he got out of school and I was like, I really need your help, and he was like, okay, I'll give you 6 months. And that was like 22 years ago or so.
Yeah.
Wow.
23 years ago. Yeah. Back in 2001 or 2002. Yeah.
So it's been a long road.
Yeah.
And we've just kept going. When we started, we were in our early 20s and we didn't have children. And since then we've had 3 kids and, gotten to, learn and grow with them too. And they wear our clothing and see what they like and don't like. And
good product testing in-house.
Yeah.
So I want to rewind just a bit, Shayna. So when you were thinking about design and all of this, and I think at this time, like you're in like the LA area, correct? And so there is still like I don't have to tell you this because you know this. There's garment apparel, some fabric and textile folks that are still in LA. It's smaller than it used to be. But how did you find that? I guess
we literally would drive around.
Oh, wow!
Downtown.
Yeah, I think it. You start with like one contact, right? I think we started with our sales reps, and what had happened is they had made their first set of samples just buying blanks and dyeing them on a stove.
Okay.
in a pot of water with some dyes you buy
Yeah.
at the market, and then they took those and that's how they got their sales reps. And the sales reps then sent them to New York, and they got a bunch. This was before I joined. So she went to New York and got some sales, and then came back, and then she's like, I don't know how to make any of this stuff. So that's
Because we
what
didn't want to use like bought blanks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we had to really like figure it out, and it was driving around and stopping at places and talking to people and showing them samples, and it was literally like that basic.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Wow.
internet, this is like the early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Like AOL,
Yeah.
just sending emails.
Yeah,
so
that's
it was,
right.
I mean,
It wasn't
maybe-
nearly as robust now where you could ask AI, how can I
Right.
find
right.
a
It's
garment
yeah,
manufacturer?
and maybe like a phone book would have helped.
Mhm.
But I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we looked in
Yeah.
the phone book, but it was just easier
Yeah.
to like get out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you ask one person, and they're like, "Here, try this sewer,"
Yeah.
and the sewer goes, "Oh,
Okay.
use this cutter," because they're these sewers are working with a bunch of brands, and each brand has a dye house and a cutter and all those different things you need for production. So they may refer you to one. You try them for a little while. If they're great, you keep them. And some people we've kept for a really long time.
Yeah.
So
And
Yeah.
some people are like, "Oh, I can do that," and then
Yeah.
you get production back, and you're like, "Oh gosh."
yeah, so you change your resources along the way, and some shops close, and then you hear about new shops that have been there all along,
Yeah.
but you didn't know about them that are great, and so over the years you kind of get a collection of resources in
But
that way.
yeah, like Joe went to school for music, and I
Mhm.
was a psych major, and we didn't know much about
Yeah.
manufacturing, and we
Right.
like
Right.
met our first pattern maker, and he was like, "You don't know how to determine shrinkage? How do you not know how to do shrinkage?" And we're like, "We don't know."
That's
and
right.
kind of learned, like he's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, this is what you do," and you're like, okay, and
Yeah.
really learn as you go. And I mean, that's how all of it is, right? It's
Mhm.
trial and error.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very iterative.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
sorry, go ahead.
no, please.
I was
Please
going to
do.
add one thing. There's multiple ways to do production. One way is where you get a full package place where you can go to. There'll be there's people in LA that still do this, where you go and you say, "Hey, I want to make these," and they'll handle everything for you. Where they
Yeah,
will
yeah, yeah.
source the
Okay.
fabric and cut it, and sew. They might have a factory in house, and they'll do it,
Mhm.
and they'll charge you a little bit more, but it saves a lot of
Mhm.
headaches. Where
Mhm.
you give them a thing, they'll deliver you a final product, right? And you pay them. But we experimented with that at the beginning, and we found that we were kind of a small fish at that point, and our production was pretty small, and so they didn't give it the attention that they might be giving our bigger customers. And so we ended up having issues with the first production, and like everything was wrong. The fabric was wrong,
Yeah.
embroidered, everything didn't turn out right, and we're like, we can't use any of this stuff. So first production came in, and we were like, what are we going to do? And that's when we were like, wow, we're going to have to learn how to do this piece by piece, and not just depend on a full package place. And
Mhm.
I think that's what we're talking. Where she was talking about driving around in a car. There were a couple just years where we're just like, let's just get in the car, let's drive around. We'll go to the places we know. We'll find new places. We'll start working on production, and that was our education, I guess, at the beginning of it, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, out there on the streets. Makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
So I guess, Shayna, between the time where you're like, I want to, figure out how to do this, and then you go through all of this kind of, I guess, experimentation, iteration, locating potential, suppliers and cut and sew and other shops, pattern makers. When were you able to launch your first products? What were they?
Okay.
And how were you reaching customers at that
I
point?
mean, okay, so this is the early 2000s, and this is before Amazon,
Yeah.
and
Right. Right.
and shopping on the internet. So we made a sample set, and we went to New York, and boutique, like there still are shows in New York,
Mhm.
and you get a booth, and you set up your samples, and you take orders, and you sell to boutiques. And
Mhm.
we went to New York for 4 times a year for a very long time. Um, we used to bring our kids to New York 4 times a year. So we sold to boutiques, and the sample set was like sweatshirts and T-shirts that had city names embroidered on
Yeah.
them, which is why it's called
That's why it's
City
called. Yeah.
Threads.
City threads. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a trend around
Cool.
that time. I don't know if you
Cool.
remember where people
Where
would have those.
it
They'd
was
have Brooklyn hoodies.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
for adults.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
so we started with these embroidered names, and then we had city names, and then we had to start developing
Yeah.
more stuff. So we were like, what else do you have? And then we started making like screen print T-shirts.
And you can't just show up
Yeah.
at 4 times a year with the same stuff.
Oh
You
yeah,
have
Right.
to,
Of
make
course.
samples constantly
Yeah.
with
Have a little, right. Yeah. Some new products.
and
Yeah.
so, and that stuck. So we still are coming out with new stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, learning from that. We still are constantly trying new things. And again, it's trial and error. We don't know what's going to stick and what's not and what's going to be popular. And I always say it's the thing I don't think is going to work that is the
Yeah.
bestseller.
Yeah. And I'm curious, certainly at the beginning, Shane and Joe, these trips to New York, I mean, how much of a grind was this to try to get sales? Because you're just starting up, you're a new entrant in the market, and I'm just curious about like how you're much more well established now, but at the very beginning, how was it to try to
I
connect
think
with those boutiques? Yeah.
I think the sales came easily. It was trying to figure out how
Mm.
to manufacture and
Oh, it's a good
and
problem to have. Yeah.
you'd say that, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
How
Okay.
to manufacture and get the product into the store, like
Okay.
deliver it and have it be consistent and have it fit right and have, like all these things. Like now we have people on our team who've been with us forever who help with these things.
It sounds like basically instead of like, oh my gosh, are we ever going to get an order? It was like, oh my gosh, we got orders.
Yeah.
How are we gonna how are we gonna do this now?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
get them filled.
Yeah.
I think we were very lucky at the time, but when we started, there weren't a lot of boys lines, and at that time we
Mhm.
were focusing on boys,
Mm.
and
Okay.
I think there weren't too many brands doing it when we first started out. So for a number of years, people were really looking for that, and so I think we'd show up. I mean, we worked hard on the samples. It's not like we could just show up with anything. I mean, we had to we
Yeah.
put a lot of effort into doing screen print, and actually part of the sales was just the grind getting to the show, where you'd spend months making samples. When you said grind to the sales, I was like, all I was thinking when you said grind, it was like maybe 2 months before you go to New York, where you're like you're getting the samples made and you're pushing, and
Mhm.
everybody else in town is making their samples too. And so I used to just camp out at the screen printer for a week. I'd bring my laptop there and I'd look at every print they do and get the colors right and the print right and just micromanage everything there.
Yeah, and so initially, I guess, and we're still talking because yeah, Amazon hasn't boomed or direct consumer sales outside of like catalogs was extremely difficult at that time, I guess. So, what were the was there any did these tend to be urban, suburban? Were they all over the United States? Were they in one region? I'm just curious about your initial market and kind of what that looked like.
I would say that because of just the style of our things, they were a little bit more like they're, I wouldn't say super edgy, but a little bit,
Mhm.
it was like
Yeah.
rock and roll t-shirts and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. And so we
yeah.
would sell mostly in big cities, like
Okay.
San Francisco, LA, New York a lot,
Chicago.
Philadelphia,
Philadelphia.
Boston, and then and there were some cities in the South that we'd get, in the
Uh-huh.
more like I guess progressive areas, and
Yeah.
then and then little pockets in the suburbs too. So
Mhm.
I'd say that was mostly we never were able to really capture the South. Like nothing we came up with ever was quite right. So we get a rep in the South and they'd be like, "I'm trying." And there's some people in
Yeah.
Dallas and Houston that like
Yeah.
it, but it's a tough sell.
But I
Okay,
think
yeah.
we were born and raised in LA, and I think like we
Yeah.
couldn't get that.
Yeah, our sensibility is just
Yeah,
we're
you
just
kind of
city
Understood.
LA. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Marin, and I'm a communications intern here at the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We just released our 12th annual holiday gift guide, and I wanted to share one of my favorite picks. North Drinkware is a hand-blown glass cup company in Oregon that incorporates 3D mountain designs in their cups using real U.S. Geological Survey data. I think these are a great way to commemorate a trip or hometown memory. There are so many other great finds on our gift guide, so check it out on our website. Happy holidays!
Hi, I'm Kat, the Media Relations Director at the Alliance for American Manufacturing. And every weekday morning, I start my day poring over news from the big national outlets like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times to the smallest local papers that you've probably never heard of before, all to find the manufacturing and trade news you need to know today. You can catch all the latest twists and turns in trade, be the first to know about the newest factory openings, and dive into great Made in America stories by subscribing to our free newsletter, The Daily Digest. Go to act.americanmanufacturing.org/digest-sign-up to subscribe now. See you tomorrow morning.
And so you're in these boutiques, you're obviously grinding to get the new products in it. It sounds like, I'm gathering, when you say 4 times a year, it's like the seasonal lines that people
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
want to stock. But it sounds like you found like good sourcing, right? In terms of like, cut and sew and fabric and all of this. So what, I guess at what point you're like, okay, we think we can make this work. Like, this is like a real thing for us.
I think, well, go ahead.
I mean, I think when we started, we were young, we didn't have kids, like, we didn't need
Yeah.
much. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if we could pay our rent, we were like, cool, like, I mean, we started it
Yeah.
with our credit cards and like a dream, and I don't even think we like thought that far ahead. We weren't like, in this time we'll be doing this. We were like, okay, cool, we're doing this and we're putting one foot in front of the other. And I think one of the reasons we're still around is because we will pivot. We're not like stuck on, and we're like, oh, you don't,
Yeah.
the market doesn't want our screen print shirts anymore. Cool.
Yeah, we get a lot of feedback from customers. We'd bring stuff and they'd be like, you got to make the shirts this way. Or like, can you
Okay.
make the screen prints look a little bit differently? This is what the customer's like. And so we have to listen to that or else we wouldn't get sales. We couldn't just be like, no, this is the way we make our stuff. Because,
And so
Yeah.
now what we're hearing from customers is that they care about what's in the material of goods. People
Mhm.
care about 100% cotton, and they care about organic cotton, and they want to know the contents. And so what I say is, I want to be like a supermarket where when you go to buy apples at the supermarket, they say like organic or conventionally grown, and it's clearly labeled, and you can see the contents, and you can know where, they grew
Yeah.
the
Right.
apples. It says, oh, these were from Peru and these are from Washington State. And you
Yeah.
can make choices. There's 20 kinds of apples and you get
Yeah.
to pick. So our website, we try to be really clearly labeled. We have
Mhm.
style 411 on each product where you can click it and see what the contents are of the fabric and where it's from, and that it's made in the US, and everything is like cut and sewn and dyed in the US, but sometimes the fabric, mostly swim fabric, is from
Yeah.
China.
Yeah. Right. All right.
But the cottons are from here. So it has to be
Mhm.
like, we're clearly labeled. Some of our stuff is organic and some of our
Yeah.
stuff is not. We have thermals that are a blend of cotton poly
Mhm.
that are still great and comfortable and soft, and kids like to wear them, but they're very clearly labeled. So if you don't
Yeah.
want to wear the blend and you just want 100% cotton, or you just want organic cotton, you can be whatever type of customer you want to be,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We call it shop your values. We put that on there so you can
Yeah.
like,
I
people
love
looking
that.
for concerns. Because another thing is sensory
Yeah.
friendly. Like people are looking for
Mhm.
sensory items, and we like to think a lot of our some of our items, like such as pants without buttons and zippers and things like that. Like all of our bottoms are just pull up bottoms for kids, and
Yeah.
it's a lot easier and sensory friendly and easy for a lot of kids to wear. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, comfort is like a big, big thing for us. We have like a silky tag in the back of our clothes that it's really soft. You could cut it out if you want to, but it shouldn't feel like anything.
Yeah.
Like our fabrics are really soft and they feel really nice. Our fabrics are still the same fabrics we've been doing since we were in boutique. So they're
Mhm.
boutique quality fabrics that we now sell online, to a mass
Mm.
audience. We do still sell to some boutiques, but that's
Yeah.
definitely um it's
Yeah.
definitely not as big of a thing.
Yeah. And Shayna, I wanted to ask you guys about that too, because you started again kind of pre-internet sales, and so now you obviously have that direct consumer opportunity. How early did you guys get up and online? And and then how did that evolve over time to your mix today? Like what's your direct to consumer? Do you have any wholesale, and what's like the retail business as well? Yeah.
Well, the first thing we did is we started our own website back in, I guess, 2005, 6, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we started doing that, and it wasn't like a huge part of our business. It was just, it was a way for us to sell inventory that kind of like the stores didn't take. And I don't think we didn't put a lot of eggs in that basket for a long time.
Mhm.
And then it was around 2008, 2009, things just started transitioning online. Like Amazon Amazon started to be coming to the trade shows and buying lines. There was,
Yeah.
particularly for us, there was one customer, diapers.com. But Shayna has a good story. You could tell the story how we got.
Well, what happened was there was diapers.com, and I had my second kid, and I ordered diapers from diapers.com, and I was like running out of diapers, and I was like, if this box doesn't come, I'm gonna have to bundle my kids
Yeah.
up and take them in the car and go to the store and buy
Yeah.
diapers, and because I had like one diaper left, and the
Right.
box arrived, and the relief I felt that I didn't have to like put two kids in the car and like drive
Yeah.
to the store and unload and load,
Yeah.
just for diapers. And I was so excited, and there was like a postcard or some flyer in the box, and it was like, get in touch with us. So I wrote an email, and I was like,
Yeah.
hi, I have a clothing line. I love your business. And I got a response back the next day and said, I'm the clothing buyer at diapers.com. Yeah, let's talk. Let's meet at the next New York show. And I was like,
Wow.
Yeah.
wow, it like actually got to her. I didn't know, you don't know where it's going. And so we met with her at the next show, and she started ordering, and she was like, let's just do basics.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want the screen print. Just give me some basics. That's what my customers are
Wow.
looking for. So she actually helped us expand our line. She'd be like, well, what about this? What about this? And then Shayna would think of ideas between trade shows and be like, well, why don't we try this? Or why don't we? And then, we started making leggings. We started making pajamas. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And then
Yeah.
Shayna thought, well, why don't we make some underwear? And that was a big.
That was like,
change.
we
Yeah.
made the pattern for the underwear, and they were sitting in our office, the pattern, for a long time, because we costed it out, and we were like, nobody's gonna buy this. Nobody's gonna buy this. And even though ours is really soft and we cover the elastic and it's made in the US, I was like,
Yeah.
are people gonna pay for this? And it
Mhm.
took us, we'd go back and forth and not try it for a really long time. And finally we tried it.
Yeah, but the buyer was really excited about it. She's like, you got to do underwear. We could sell this. And then we had to talk to everybody in town and be like, can you make it for this price? And people were willing to try it out. And we were able to, I mean, it's still not cheap, but it's
Mhm.
less than it
Yeah.
would have been.
And so we do offer like multiple styles,
Mhm.
like briefs and boxer briefs and boy shorts and bikini.
Yeah.
And then we do 100% cotton and 100% organic cotton versions. So there's, and then we have men's, and women's is coming out soon.
Yeah.
And we have like training bras and like just
Great.
everything you
Yeah.
could think of
Yeah.
that we've developed over the years.
I will say that when you said earlier, like, when did you think this is something you keep doing? I think when we started making basics, I think we were like, oh, this feels like a very like sustainable business that could keep going.
Okay.
The screen print thing
Yeah.
was like, you just
It was
feel like
exhausting.
you feel like you're
Yeah.
at the whim of trends a little bit, and you're like, you got to show up every time with something new and exciting, and then you have to do it every season. And basics are a little
Yeah.
more like, you can offer the same thing. You're you're in, you're out, and then you can keep expanding on that, but you don't have to discard everything you made before. Because
and I feel
Yeah.
like we would come up with a sample set, and we would like kill ourselves and then show up to the show, and people would be like, I don't know.
you're like,
Yeah.
not for me.
Not for me. And we were like, oh my God, we
Yeah.
can't, like, this isn't
I think that's
sustainable.
as we got a little older, because we started in our, mid-20s, and I think we had a little more energy to like, oh, no problem, we'll just keep doing it. And then I think as we got older, we're like, all right, this is
We
we got kids.
had kids,
And
and
you're
we were like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
like,
let's so
Yeah. You're like,
No, and also like, the two of us were not really like fashionistas that we need the we're not like
Uh-huh.
the quote unquote fashion designers where we're looking for, brand names and fancy stuff and special things. We really like basics ourselves. Like
And we
that's
like
kind of what we
comfortable
really
clothes.
like, comfortable basics. And so I think it kind of resonated with us more than the things we were doing before, even though we love the creativity of it and the artistic thing of doing the prints and all that was fun. But I think that this is kind of probably more our true apparel identity when it comes to like,
Yeah.
what we prefer. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's great. So, and so obviously that was the start of like a lot of the larger online sales beyond your own site. What does that look like now? How are you selling online today?
We are selling right now. We are on Amazon. We
Hmm.
are on Target. We are on Nordstrom, and then we have our own website.
Yeah. How has over, I don't know, I guess 5, 10 years, first kind of like the whole fast fashion trend, fast and disposable, and then the online marketplaces that are coming directly from China, like how has that impacted city threats
It's a
at
good
all?
question. I mean, you see a lot on, especially on Amazon, where they'll take basically anybody can sell there, and there's a lot of a lot of overseas Chinese sellers where the brand name is just sort of a random collection of letters sometimes.
Yeah.
So they definitely like are borrowing from other manufacturers and sort of like ideas and sort of
Yeah.
the style, and they're coming out with it. It might be cheaper, but I think we depend on our customer base or the people who
Mhm.
would be our customer base to just make, we know they're smart and they make choices that are for them. And so there, you can choose a cheaper price, you can choose cheaper made, the materials might not last as long, they might not be natural fibers. And I think it's just certain customers are really drawn to buying natural fibers, buying local if they can. And even some are opposed to buying on Amazon, but we're saying, well,
Yeah.
I mean, Amazon does support a lot of small businesses because it
Mhm.
allows us to like companies like us to sell on there.
And
Sure.
people can buy directly from us. We're
Yeah.
happy
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
that. And I think in terms of like, I think it's our job again to be clear about what's in our product, right?
Yeah.
To be
Absolutely.
clear that
Right.
we're made in the US, the contents of the fabrics,
Mhm.
to try to get the fit as comfortable
Yeah.
as possible. And we do find like we have these jersey pants that we sell that have an elastic waist, and it's kind of like a thick t-shirt material. And when they get loaded onto our website, people buy them like 10 at a time. And then people started emailing us and they're like, my kid's a size 16 and that's the last size you go up. What am I gonna do? So now we do it all the way up to men's.
Oh,
Um so that people don't
wow.
have to
Yeah.
worry.
Hey, it's Scott here. Did you know China can build 232 times more ships than the United States, according to the Office of Naval Intelligence? Now, that number alone is shocking, but it gets worse. Today, there are only 80 U.S. flag vessels in international commerce. China, meanwhile, has 5,500. I think it's time we right this ship. So please join me in telling Congress to pass the Ships for America Act. This important, and get this, bipartisan bill aims to revitalize America's shipyards by investing in our workforce and our supply chains. We were once the world's leading shipbuilder. We know how to do this. We can start rebuilding with the Ships for America Act. So please go to act.americanmanufacturing.org/ships to take action now. You alluded to this and you said at the very outset that you have expanded into kind of adult sizes. And I'm just, when did you, it's clear to me why you made that decision. You just articulated, but when did you make that decision, I guess, that this is something you want to do?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
what's weird, what's interesting is we used to come when we used to have a boutique line, we used to go and have to offer a complete line where you're like, I have this
Mhm.
selection, this is a whole boys thing. Here's the tops, here's the bottoms, girls, here's the tops, here's the bottoms. But the
Yeah.
online marketplace was a little different. As we were experimenting with Amazon, we'd say, let's just try this one item. And so we sort of dabbled with one thing. Like I think we came out with women's leggings first. We said, well, the girls' leggings are doing good. Let's try women's legging. Why not? So we didn't say let's make a whole women's collection. We started with one item, and with the online marketplace too, you have an opportunity to test it and see, oh, this is selling. These colors are selling. and then see if it continues to sell. Is it year round? Is it a seasonal thing? And when you start to get, you're just like, oh, this one's doing well. Let's come out with something similar. Things like that. We just started expanding
And you
on what
made
was made.
yourself.
Oh yeah, a lot of it I'm not mentioning is that I wanted to make myself clothes. And actually, I think I made a men's T-shirt first
Yeah.
because I was like, I
Love
want to
it.
have a T-shirt. I love
Yeah.
these fabrics. Why can't I have
Yeah.
something?
There
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
And-
I
and-
love it. That's great.
Also made some men's boxers that are really long
Yeah.
and made out of T-shirt material.
They're
And-
really
and-
soft.
So yeah, I'm
Awesome.
wearing.
So he's wearing
Yeah,
that,
and
and,
it-
and
yeah.
then
Yeah, I have these fleece pants too, and everything's 100%
Yeah.
cotton, organic cotton, and I love it. And yeah,
Beautiful.
we came out with
he made the sweatpant, and it's kind of like the jersey pant where there's like pockets, and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like, I can go to dinner.
I wear like a shirt like this and like sweat, and they really feel like sweatpants, but they're passable.
And he's like,
Yeah.
nobody knows that these are sweatpants, and I'm going to dinner, and I'm like, great, fabulous.
Yeah, I was like, I wanted to say, you guys have nailed that because that is like the look at so many different ages these days
I
to
know.
have
Well,
that
because-
comfort and
Because
Yeah.
comfort is
Yeah.
important to everybody, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody like comes home and changes their clothes into sweats if they're in jeans, like
Yeah.
everybody wants to be comfortable, and so do kids. And like some of the other items might look, bedazzled and all these things and fun, but like they might be scratchy, and so you can
Also not breathable. You think about spandex, nylon spandex, poly
Right.
spandex. Most of these leggings are
Right.
made out of, and they just don't breathe a lot. So I think over the course of the day, you end up sweating less if you have cotton on. You just feel more comfortable. And I think people definitely don't think about that a lot, but I think people are waking up to that. Just
Yeah.
because of the toxic thing, people are wanting less toxic things on there. I think that's coming on the news a lot about how, like, when you have synthetic things in your clothing, that it does get into your body, and people
all the
are,
time.
yeah,
Yeah, you see that. So I wanted to, and Shayna, first of all, I appreciated the transparency about like what's made in the U.S., what isn't. You guys make a ton of stuff here.
No,
Um,
everything is like
yeah.
cut and sewn,
Yeah.
but like
except
some
for
of it
except
got-
for our
Some of
hats.
it-
Except
Right.
for our hats, we don't
Except
really
for the
make
hats.
them anymore. We order them.
Make them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But some of the materials for the swim and maybe are sourced
Are
from
brought
a,
in,
from
yeah.
abroad.
Yeah.
But largely, and so from the Made in America perspective, I want to ask you both. Two questions, like an inward facing and outward facing question here. One is that I imagine that's important. Obviously, that was important to you, when you set out to do this. But from a practicality point of view, how great is it to have like your pattern makers, your cut and sew, your facilities that I guess if you wanted to, you could visit pretty easily, right? And check in on things. And then also, I guess how important is it for your customers? So can you guys speak to those kind of two things? Yeah.
I'd say for us that we didn't, when we started our business, we didn't set out to manufacture one place or another. We just started, and it was like as soon as
Okay.
we made that infrastructure of production, we're like, why would we do it another way? And
Yeah.
there were a couple projects that we worked on that were like, we wanted to make some printed fabric, and we tried to make it overseas, and it came back like it didn't come out right. It took forever to get the samples right, and when we finally got it, it was late for the season. And we said, well, when we make things in LA, it's not like that at all. Like we get our fabric at the right time, we can make things. And so we realized that we were like, wow, it seems really impractical for us actually to try to make things overseas, even though I know a lot of people have figured out how to do it. And, that's been successful for a lot of brands. For us, we were like, well, we're just hands-on, and we're able to watch everything and be in control of everything more. And it's, it's so important. We want to make sure our quality's good. We want to make sure we can be on time. And we're like, wow, if something comes off a boat and we get it 3 months later and it's not right, it could really screw up our whole season. So we didn't want to start depending on that because we weren't sure that that was sustainable for us. Yeah.
And we can see the process, it gets cut at one place,
Yeah.
and then it gets picked up and moved to the sewer, and like you can see, oh, the cut didn't go well.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to recut it. So it doesn't doesn't continue through the whole system. It stops, and then you're like, oh, we got to recut, and maybe we only have to recut one piece, or the sleeves or something, if as an example. So we can see the problems, and then we can also like try to fulfill our inventory quickly and keep in stock,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
much
makes our
more
projection
agile.
time. Yeah, our forecasting time is less. It's probably for the same reason that we didn't want to go with that full package company. It didn't come out right. We're like, "Oh, why are we going to try this again? We know if we're in charge of it, at least we did the best we can to make it come out right." And so I think we just feel more comfortable manufacturing with our own resources. Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine customers come to your products for a couple of reasons. I mean, I remember when our kids were young and it's like you want organic, you want locally made, you want non-toxic, you want stuff that's going to be comfortable. I think when you mentioned Jane about the tags, I thought about like one of my sons hated tags on stuff, and the first thing he would do is rip it off like right away. So obviously functionality, and I guess from a made in America perspective, I mean, that matters to a group, but I think it also signifies like quality or the fact that it's not going to probably, it's probably better made in a way. And I'm just curious, what if anything your customers have said about it?
I will say that there have been a few times where when we did do screen printing, I would bring in a sample. I'd be like, "Can we do art like this?" And they'd be like, "No, because that's made in China and the chemicals aren't even allowed here." And
Ah,
I was like,
okay.
"Wow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's crazy." So,
Mm.
I do think like things are safer here.
Yeah, there's a lot of regulations here that they're not
Yeah.
in other countries. Yeah.
Our dyes, we use like child safe dye, like the dye house is using special dyes. Like we're like making choices and then we know that it's happening because we go to we're regulars at the dye house,
Yeah.
like we're overseeing stuff. So like we get emails all the time. Do you spray stuff on your clothing to make it
See?
UPF 50? Are
Oh
you
yeah, yeah,
spraying
yeah.
things? And we're like, no, it's just the weave of the
Hmm.
fabric.
Hmm.
And we do get it tested to find the rating, and it's usually like UPF like 200 or something.
Yeah.
Oh
The
wow.
most you can
Okay.
claim is
Yeah.
50, but
So
yeah.
you say
Yeah.
50
Right,
plus, but
right. That's
a
the most you can. Right. Yeah.
yeah.
There definitely
Yeah.
is some mechanical, like some manufacturing know-how overseas and certain machines that they have. I remember we tried to
Sure.
make some swimsuits
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
had like these really intricate diagonal seams, and they're like, you can
Hmm.
only do this in China. Uh, uh, so we're
Yeah.
like, there's definitely some manufacturing limitations, and I will say that there's great quality they can do overseas. I would think that there's just good quality and probably lesser quality everywhere. I
Yeah.
think it's like in LA. I mean,
Absolutely.
there's some
Yeah.
contractors that we've tried and haven't worked out. So I think it's just whoever's in charge just got to make sure it's going well. You're
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
good contractors. So
And it's
yeah,
about
yeah,
having good relationships with people
yeah,
and being present and
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. The choices you make and the business you have, it obviously supports other livelihoods as well, right? Either folks that are working directly for you or folks that you're contracting with. And that has to be a special connection, like I guess knowing some of those folks on some level that you're supporting, their livelihoods through your entrepreneurship and your business and the fact that you've invested a lot of both literal equity and also sweat equity in making City Thread successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been, we've had employees in our office for over 11, 12 years now. Some of them have stayed that long. We've had contractors that we've used for that long too. And it's definitely a special relationship. It's definitely like you have a trust because you go through season after season. Some seasons are really great and you do so much work. Some seasons are a little slower, and you get through together, and I think you develop a really good trust. I think the trust is the most important thing, and I think the contractors who are good, they really know that, and they're like, they will not let you down. They're like, if you need something, they're gonna do it for you, and they're like, you need it by this day. They know how important it is to you, and I think that's something that they've learned over the years. It's like, if they're coming to me and they want us to make this stuff, we're gonna deliver, and they really do everything they can. I think that's like, and then you try to do what you can for them too. I think it's like you try to, if they do that, you just keep giving them work. You're like, you keep say that these people are great. Let's just keep giving them work, and you just get this synergy going, and it can go on for years. And they're appreciative of the work, and you appreciate their work, and the customers are happy because the quality's good. And I think that you just sort of end up with this whole community of people, from everywhere, from the fabric people that you trust. And you're like, I mean, the fabric is such a huge part of it because you want it to be the same every time. And so finding a knitter who like is really consistent and uses good quality yarn and they just deliver for you, it's like, that's like the backbone. All these people are the backbone. You get that good fabric and you get your, from the cutters, the sewers, the dye house too, they got to hit your colors every time, and if it's not right, they got to redo it.
Yeah, our fabric guy's our original fabric guy from when we left the full package place and we walked into his office and we sat down and waited our turn and we were like, we're looking for some fabrics. And now it's 23 years
Yeah,
later.
he was our first fabric vendor. We're still working with him.
And are doing fittings and getting that right. We've been working with Sheila for
she's fitted her kids since they were like, fitted kids in the garments since I don't know how old they were. Now they're like, in high school and college.
Yeah.
And then our office staff, Patty, the original.
Yeah, she's there, I think 12 or 13 years.
Wow.
And
I think
Pyro's been there.
12 years.
So it's like we have our staff that like they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they really get to know our products well too. So you can really start to depend on them, keeping an eye on things. Like stuff comes in like this fabric isn't right. This garment isn't looking right.
Yeah.
It starts to be almost like natural. When they see something it just doesn't look right, they see it really quickly. Yeah. And I think we're so thankful for that team, because they're so dependable.
We will put it in, we have like a damage section on the website that we sell stuff for really cheap that has like slight, people get it, they're like, oh my God, this is great. Like I can't tell. And we're like, but it wasn't up to our standards, so we'll just put it there. And so we have a place to
seconds, where they have like a small damage, which it's like you shouldn't throw it away. You should,
So we sell it on our website as seconds. And but like our staff knows our colors, so if something comes in a little weird, they'll be like, this isn't it.
And that type of like experience is something that is, I mean, it's more than intangible. There's a real value to it, and to be able
100%.
to have that continuity through all that time is pretty remarkable. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's great is that we've had to transition a lot too. We started as a wholesale company. The same people who were calling these boutiques for credit cards to get the shipment to go out, now they're dealing with customers from websites and Amazon.
Right.
And our office, which used to be primarily a wholesale, just we would ship big boxes out, is now mostly, is mostly just a web warehouse now where we're shipping orders out because the marketplaces we're selling to, like Target and Nordstrom, we don't send it. They don't house it. We house the inventory and ship it on their behalf because it's a marketplace, and not everybody knows that.
Wow.
Yeah. So we became sort of like a web fulfillment house, and so our employees have transitioned a lot and been really gracious about that. We're like, oh, now we're doing this. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Like we pivot a lot, and our employees pivot a lot, and everybody's like, on the team and just willing to do whatever needs to be done to like on the betterment of City Threads. And I think that's how we've done it, and we kind of let the market and the world change around us.
Yeah,
we're doing this.
We were a mask shipping warehouse for a year, during COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like as many people did in, I guess, garments, textiles, and what have you, stepped up and helped during a crisis. That's fantastic. Joe and Shayna, I'm so glad that our listeners got to know a little more about City Threads and all the products you offer, your journey, and all the joy you bring to families that are buying your apparel. So thanks so much for being on the Manufacturing Report today.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, Scott. And thanks for bringing attention to American-made products. This is it is a novel thing these days. And it's really important that there's enough people doing it, especially in the fashion district in LA, because if there's not enough, all these people who are doing the fabrics and the cutting, the sewing, they need enough customers to keep it going. So it's a good thing for people to know that it's still possible to make things in LA, and clothing specifically in LA. Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better than that. So, yeah.